Chapter 1. The Invasion. The sky burned crimson as the Vathari warships descended upon Earth. Commander Lyra Vale, her silver scales shimmering under the firelight, watched from the bridge of her flagship, the Obsidian Maw. Below, human cities crumbled under the relentless barrage of plasma fire. "They resist," her second-in-command, Torvak, growled. "Foolish." Lyra's slit-pupilled eyes narrowed. "They always do." The Vathari Dominion had encountered countless species in their conquests, but humans were different. Not because they were stronger, they weren't. Not because they were more advanced, they were primitive. No, what unsettled Lyra was their defiance. Even when outmatched, they fought like cornered beasts. Her people had long believed humans were monsters, violent, irrational, incapable of reason. The Dominion's archives were filled with records of human wars, their cruelty to one another, their destruction of their own world. To the Vathari, they were a plague, one that needed to be eradicated before it spread. Lyra had never questioned it. Until him. Chapter 2. The Prisoner. The human was brought before her in chains. A soldier, captured in the ruins of a fallen city. His uniform was torn, his face bruised, but his eyes, sharp, defiant, locked onto hers without fear. "Name," Lyra demanded, her voice a hiss. "Captain Elias Carter," he spat. "And you're trespassing." Torvak backhanded him. The human staggered but didn't fall. Lyra raised a clawed hand, silencing her subordinate. "Your world is lost, human. Submit, and you may yet live as a servant of the Dominion." Elias laughed, a raw, bitter sound. "Funny. I was about to say the same to you." She should have killed him then. But something in his defiance intrigued her. "Take him to the holding cells," she ordered. "I will interrogate him myself." Chapter 3. The Truth in the Dark. Alone in the dim-lit chamber, Lyra studied the human through the energy barrier of his cell. He sat against the wall, fingers tracing the scars on his arms, old wounds from battles she knew nothing about. "Why do you fight?" she asked. "You cannot win." Elias looked up. "Why do you fight? You already have a dozen worlds. What's one more to you? Order must be enforced. Chaos like yours must be purged." He smirked. "That's what they told you, huh?" Lyra's tail flicked in irritation. "You know nothing of our ways. And you know nothing of ours." He leaned forward. "Tell me, Commander, did your archives mention why we fought each other? Or did they just say we were savages?" She hesitated. The records had been sparse. Elias saw her doubt. "We weren't perfect. We made mistakes. But we also built hospitals, saved lives, created art, music, stories. You only see the worst of us because that's what your leaders want you to see." Lyra's scales prickled. "You lie. Then why am I still alive?" His voice dropped. "You're curious. You want to know if I'm right." She left without another word. Chapter 4. The Defiance. Days passed. Lyra found herself returning to Elias' cell, asking questions she had never dared voice. He spoke of Earth's history, not just the wars but the peace that followed, the sacrifices made to rebuild, the hope that lingered even in ruin. And then came the order from High Command. Exterminate the remaining human resistance. Leave no survivors. Lyra stood frozen in her quarters. She had carried out such commands before without hesitation. But now, "You only see the worst of us." A knock at her door. Torvak entered, his expression grim. "The human. He's escaped." "What?" "He overpowered a guard. Stole a weapon. But..." Torvak hesitated. "He didn't kill him. Just knocked him out. Lyra's pulse quickened. That wasn't the act of a monster. Chapter 5: The Choice. She found Elias in the lower decks, cornered by Vathari soldiers. He was wounded, blood dripping from his side, but his stance was unyielding. "Stand down," Lyra commanded. The soldiers hesitated, then obeyed. Elias eyed her warily. "Here to finish me yourself." She stepped closer, her voice low. "You could have killed that guard. Why didn't you?" "Because I'm not what you think I am." He met her gaze. "And neither are you." In that moment Lyra made her choice. "Come with me," she said. "Now." Chapter 6: The Escape. They fled in a stolen shuttle, the obsidian Maw's cannons blazing behind them. Elias piloted with desperate skill, weaving through the fire. "Why?" he asked as they broke atmosphere. "Why help me?" Lyra stared at the shrinking warship, the life she had known. "Because you were right. I wanted to believe there was more." Earth's surface grew larger beneath them. Somewhere down there, the remnants of humanity were fighting. And now so was she. Chapter 7: The Revelation. The human resistance base was hidden deep in the mountains. When they saw Elias return with a Vathari commander at his side, weapons were drawn instantly. "Wait!" Elias shouted. "She's with us." Lyra stood tall under their scrutiny. She had spent her life believing humans were monsters. Now she would help them prove they weren't. Epilogue: The war changes. Months later, the tides of war shifted. Lyra's knowledge of Dominion tactics turned the resistance into a formidable force. But more importantly, her broadcasts, pleading with her people to see the truth, reached millions. Some Vathari listened. Some even defected. And when the day came that the Dominion's fleets withdrew, Lyra stood beside Elias on a rebuilt Earth, gazing at the stars. "You defied everything I knew," she said softly. He smiled. "That's what humans do." And for the first time she was glad of it. The Dominion's retreat was not silent. As their warships vanished into the void, a final message crackled across the Resistance's comms, a voice Lyra knew too well. "Commander Vale." High Prelate Zoratha's tone was icy. "You betray your blood. Your scales will blacken in the histories. But remember, the Dominion does not forgive." Elias reached for the console, but Lyra stopped him. "No." She activated the feed, her image flickering across every Vathari channel. "And neither do I." The Resistance held its breath as she spoke, not in the hissing cadence of a conqueror, but in the measured words of a rebel. "You told us humans were monsters. But I have seen them heal their wounded, share their last rations, fight for strangers. If that is monstrosity, then what does that make us?" She bared her fangs not in threat but in sorrow. "I will not ask you to surrender, only to look, and decide who you are." The transmission ended. The room was silent. Then, one by one, the humans lowered their weapons. Elias exhaled. "Think it'll work?" Lyra watched the stars. "It already has." The garden. Weeks later, Lyra found Elias in the ruins of a botanical garden. The glass dome was shattered, but stubborn vines climbed the walls, and a single apple tree thrived in the sunlight. He was digging, his hands caked in soil. "Planning to grow an army," she teased. "Better." He patted the earth. "Food. For the kids in the East Sector. They've never tasted fresh fruit." She knelt beside him. The gesture was so human, not just survival but care for a future he might not live to see. "You're still surprised," Elias said, reading her face. "Even now." Lyra plucked a fallen apple blossom, its petals delicate as skin. On Vathar we engineered perfect crops. No weeds, no waste. But this, she gestured to the wild, untamed growth. It shouldn't flourish. Yet it does. Elias grinned. Sounds familiar. Promise. That night, atop a broken skyscraper, they watched the first human Vathari settlement take shape below. Prefab homes, hybrid tech, even a school where Vathari younglings, defectors' children, chased human kids in the dust. You realize what you've started, right? Elias said. This isn't just peace. It's a revolution. Lyra's tail coiled around her legs. Zoreth will return. Stronger. Yeah. But next time. He bumped her shoulder. We'll be ready. She studied him, the scars, the stubborn hope in his eyes. Once, she'd thought humans were defined by their cruelty. Now she knew the truth. They were defined by their choice to be kind, even when the universe gave them every reason not to be. Elias Carter. She said his name like a vow. When they come, we fight together. He clasped her forearm, their wrists pressed in the old Vathari way. Together. Above them, the stars burned cold and distant. But on Earth, for the first time in generations, something warm took root.